Today, we're going to dig into a pretty incredible story. It's about a complete health turnaround, all told through the data from one tiny device over the course of just 6 months. Let's see what this data really tells us.
I mean, really think about that. What if you got an instant report card right after you ate something? A slice of pizza, a salad, even that seemingly harmless glass of juice. Well, that's exactly the power of a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, and it is at the very heart of the journey we're about to follow. And this right here is our main character. And no, it's not a person, it's their data. This chart, it's tracking their average blood glucose over 6 whole months. You can see right away, it starts pretty high, then it drops, then it hits some really serious turbulence before finally finding some stability. This is the story of someone learning how to listen to their own body with data as their guide.
Okay, so to really understand the story, we first need to get on the same page. We need to speak the language of the CGM. And there are 3 key metrics that tell us pretty much everything we need to know.
First up, you've got time in range, or TIR. Think of this as your score in a game. It's the percentage of time you spend in that metabolic sweet spot, that healthy blood sugar zone. The goal? Simple. Get this number as close to 100% as you possibly can.
Then on the flip side, we have time below range, or TBR. Now this is the danger zone. When your glucose drops too low, that's called hypoglycemia, it puts a massive amount of stress on your body. So the goal here is the exact opposite. We want this number to be as close to 0 as humanly possible.
And finally, there's glycemic variability. This is all about stability. Are your glucose levels like a gentle rolling wave, or are they a wild, unpredictable roller coaster? A lower number here means a much smoother and much healthier ride for your metabolism. All right, with the basics covered, let's jump right into the first few weeks of this person's journey. This is where the real learning and experimenting begins. Now, check this out, because what's so wild about this slide is the immediate impact. Just look at that massive drop from period 1 to period 2. A simple change in diet, even before it was totally dialed in, caused a huge improvement right out of the gate. You know, the food logs from this time, they show a little bit of everything. Good stuff like eggs, but also buko juice, rice, and yeah, even some Jollibee. It was far from a perfect diet, but it was a clear step away from whatever was happening before. The data looked pretty good, but you could already see these little hints of the instability that was coming. So after that really promising start, things took a very sharp turn. And this is a classic trap people fall into when they make big dietary changes. They go way too hard, way too fast. I mean, just look at this chart. That huge red bar for period 4, that's not just data. That is a warning signal screaming for help. This person was spending a really dangerous amount of time with low blood sugar. This was the first major crisis. 26.2%. Let that sink in. For 2 straight weeks, more than 1 out of every 4 minutes was spent in a state of hypoglycemia. That is a serious stress signal from your metabolism. So the big question is why? Why did this happen? Well, the food logs tell the whole story. We're seeing super low-calorie days, sometimes just single meals, and still a lot of carbs, like top-of-fried rice. The body just wasn't getting enough fuel, and it was crashing, hard and often. After they recovered from that first crisis, that period of instability came roaring back. And this time, it led to an even more severe crash and revealed a brand new, unexpected variable in the whole health equation. You can actually see the whole thing build up here. Post-holiday pizza, sourdough bread, the diet was just all over the place. Then, a lab test on January 21st confirmed the real underlying problem, borderline insulin resistance. But the final straw, the thing that pushed it over the edge, was a new thyroid medication. It sent glucose control completely off the rails. And that combination of factors, it led to the single worst period of the entire 6 months. The data shows the second crisis was almost as bad as the first, pushing the body right back into that hypoglycemic danger zone for nearly a quarter of the time. It was a massive setback. So, with the data showing 2 major crises and this underlying insulin resistance problem, how in the world do you turn it all around? Well, this is the part of the story where the data stops being a warning signal and starts becoming the solution, and it leads to a really remarkable breakthrough. I mean, just look at the difference. It's night and day. On the right, you see the hypoglycemia crisis of period 9. Then, on the left, you've got period 10. that red danger zone, it completely vanishes, and the green time and range shoots up to almost perfect. It is a stunning visual turnaround.
So what was the secret? Well, the solution wasn't all that complicated, but it required one key thing: consistency. The diet became carnivore dominant. We're talking lots of eggs, meat, and fish. Processed carbs were almost entirely cut out. And maybe most importantly, meal timing became regular. The body responded, like, immediately, with incredible stability.
And this right here is the perfect example of that real-time feedback. Even during this near-perfect stretch, a single meal of pasta and bread sent their glucose soaring to the highest point in the entire 6-month span. It's such a clear lesson. Your body remembers.
But listen, the real payoff, the real win, isn't just on the CGM screen. It's in the blood work. In just under 2 months, insulin resistance dropped by an incredible 64%. Triglycerides, a huge marker for heart disease risk, plummeted by 70%, and inflammation was cut by over 60%. These aren't just numbers, these are life-changing results.
Let's just zero in on that insulin resistance number for a second. Going from 2.40, which is solidly in the borderline dysfunctional range, down to 0.86, which is optimal, in less than 8 weeks, that is a phenomenal achievement. This is literally what reversing metabolic dysfunction looks like in real time.
And that's really the headline for this entire journey, isn't it? 6 months of listening to data, learning from mistakes, and using that real-time feedback to go from the edge of chronic disease all the way to a state of optimal health.
So it really just leaves us with one final question. This technology, it basically gives you an instruction manual for your own body. If you had it, what's the first thing you test? What's the one change you would be most curious to make?